Okay, so welcome back. Hopefully you have successfully piped email through to a script and returned the output. In this case, we can go ahead and start stripping this as I discussed at the end of the last part of the video. So let's go ahead and open up parse.php in our text editor here. Now what we want to do is we want to use a regular expression, a very simple regular expression, to strip this data. So we're going to be using preg match all. So it's basically Perl regular expression match all. Okay, and we're going to be placing the regular expression here. We're going to be placing the data that we want to match from here, and then we want a variable which is going to be an array that outputs the matches. So the regular expression is going to look like this. We're going to need 2 forward slashes. We're going to place an I modifier afterwards. That just means case insensitive. Now we need to look at the structure of this email and how we can break this apart. So for example, we've got subject. We have got a piece of information here, so a piece of text here, a colon, and then we have the data that we need. Well, we have a space as well, then we have the data that we need. And this is the same for each of these here. So we've got from, oh no, this one is not going to count. We've got received, and then a colon, and then a space, and all this data here, which we're not going to be making use of. For example, date, we've got a string here, colon, and then the data. From, they're all the same. So we can use one regular expression instead of using multiple regular expressions to pick out certain bits. So what we're going to be doing here is we're going to be saying within this space here we want to look for anything, and then we want a colon, and then we want to incorporate a space, so we want to say there's going to be a space here, and then anything after that, and then a new line. So this is what we're matching. We're matching anything, which could be subject, name, from, received, whatever. Then a colon, then a space, and then any data. So when we pick up this data, we can, well, it will basically give us this information, and it will give us this information as well. So what we want to do is we want to try and test this. So we want to output this matches, but again, we can't output to the page anywhere we want. So we're going to have to send this through email. So what we do is we say, usually what we'd do is we would echo print r, and we would enclose this in pre tags like this, and we would place the array and then true. So this would output the contents of this array, and if you're confused now, it's going to become a lot clearer in just a moment when we output this. So I'm going to go ahead and cut this because we're not outputting directly to the script, but we are placing inside of here to be sent through to the user. So go ahead and click change when you've passed this through, and let's go ahead and send another email to our pipe, or through our pipe. So I'm going to say test subject and test body. Now test body is not going to show up. The reason being is that at the moment test body is down here. It doesn't have anything, and that's why we're going to include this message and colon. In fact, let's go ahead and do that now. It's just better, so then we have some kind of consistency, and it's going to allow this to come through in 99 times out of 100. So send, and let's see what data we get back from this. There we go, and you can see that we've got the contents of this array through here. I guess in fact we didn't need the pre-tags because it's already pre-formatted here. So we have got all of these lines here. We can ignore these because this is just where it's been matched, but here is, for example, the we have an overall array, we have in element 0 another array, and then lots of elements in here. We then have in element 1 an array with all these data pieces of data. So these are the labels that have been matched here, 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 etc. And then underneath these we have the actual data itself. So you can now see that under, for example, 2, 10 has the test body, 2, 7 has the test subject, 2, 6 has the email it's sent from, therefore we can extract the ID from this. And then for example 3 we have the email it was sent from. So it's perfect. We've got all the data that we need now, so we can go to PHP, we can extract this information and then output it to the user. And then later on we can use this for a lot, much more useful things like posting to a website, for example. So let's go ahead and open up our page. I'm going to go ahead and get rid of this. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to create a variable called reply, which is basically going to be the reply to the user. This is only temporary. We're going to output this line by line as we saw in the first part of the video. So we need to work out what variables that we need, and we can use this as a reference as we go. So we need first of all the sender, which is this, and then we need to extract this ID from the start. So that is of the overall array within the third element, the third element, but element labeled 2, and then it is 6. So how do we go ahead and do this? Well, we need to say sender is equal to matches, so this matches variable that we've output, within element 2 and then element 6. So this is now abc123 at email.tagfin.com. So that's what is in there at the moment. Well, not at the moment because it can vary. What we want to do now though is extract this data so we can use this to update any information in the database, for example. So I'm going to say sender underscore ID. I'm just going to tab these across so they're a bit neater. So I'm going to say this is equal to explode. We're going to explode by a certain character, and you can probably guess what that is already. If you can't, then we'll obviously run over it. It will be at. So this will sender ID will now be an array. It will be an array of the first element consisting of this and then the second of this. Now this second one we can ignore, we don't really care about that. But sender ID, we want sender ID 0. So this has taken this part of this, okay? So now we want to grab stuff like the subject, the body, etc. So we can go ahead and do that now. And these are slightly easier because we don't need to modify it like this. So let's go ahead back to our email. The subject is element 7. So we say matches to 7. And we're going to do exactly the same thing here for the message. In fact, the message is element 10, so we can go ahead and place 10 in there. So we've got, let me just write down what this would be. I'll just pop a comment here just so it's a bit clearer. So we've got the subject, the message, and we need from as well. Let's place this up here. So let's refer back to our email, and it's 3. So this is who it was from, and therefore this is who we can send the email back to. So 3. There we go. So now what we can do is within this reply we can output all of these variables so we can test this. Something might have gone wrong, the whole script might have gone wrong, just depending if we've come into any problems. So here's your information, exclamation mark, 2 new lines. Make sure you're using double quotes, otherwise these new lines won't be interpreted. We want to go ahead and say sender, new line, sender ID, new line, from, new line, subject, output the subject, go down a couple more new lines and say message, colon, new line, and then the message. Now if this is hard to understand, just try and break it up yourself. So I wouldn't recommend leaving it like this because these new lines here will be interpreted as new lines. But go ahead and break it up. It just makes it a lot easier. So for example, it would be 2 new lines there, 1 new line there, 1 new line there, 2 new lines there. So that's what it would look like in the email. So if you're having trouble with that, just go ahead and break it up. But for now, I'm doing it on 1 line. So now we're going to email back to this user here, which we still have manually set to alex@phpacademy.org. This would now be, from. Okay, so from my email pipe, reply, and then we've got the from address there. So we've gone ahead and saved that. Let's go ahead and cross our fingers and test this out. So I'm going to say abc123@tagfin.com or email.tagfin.com, test subject, test body. And remember, we need that message colon to be able to interpret that. Go ahead and click send, and hopefully we get an email through from my email pipe. Here's your information. So it's been sent back to my email address, which is the first positive sign that this from variable has been extracted properly from here. That's a really brilliant thing. And then we've got sender. Perfect. We've got this email address, sender ID, which is the first part of this email address, from Alex Garrett, which we already know is work because it's been sent back to my email. We've got the test subject, and we've got the test body. So this is really great stuff. What we've done is we've sent an email to a PHP script, picked out all these bits of information, and sent them back to the user. So essentially, we've achieved what we want already. And from here, we can go on and actually start to use this for a lot more useful things. So that's the end of the tutorial on email piping with PHP.